Hello students, this is your English lesson. In this lesson we are going to read unit number 5, the toy box from Oxford Modern English 6. First of all, words to know: adjacent, next to, adjoining; coil bunker, a storage area for coal or other fuel; damp proofed, protected against damp or rising moisture; impressive, remarkable, making a strong favorable effect; intolerable, unbearable, impossible to endure; moodiness, given to frequent changes of mood; sulky, prospect, expectation, a vision of the future; scaredy-cat, someone who is easily frightened; shuddered, shivered, as from fear; vivid, producing life like images, colorful and fresh; well manicured, neatly trimmed; 3-iron, a type of golf club. Now come to the reading of the story. "Don't look," said father as he eased the car into a lower gear. He and mother were sitting in the front, Matilda and I in the back. The tires made a pleasing crunch as they passed over the gravel. Father drove steadily, trying not to scatter the stones over the well-manicured lawn on either side of the narrow drive. "I want you both to shut your eyes and only open them when I tell you," said father. Although we were excited at the prospect of seeing our new house, we did as we were instructed. Mother had told us the week before that suitable accommodation had been found and that we would be moving in today. Father had said little. "You will see when we get there," he said in answer to our questions. The packers had been busy during the previous week. It had been fun living with boxes everywhere. Then suddenly our magical playground had been whisked away and we were left with a few suitcases. The large gates we had passed through a little earlier were impressive and the gardens magnificent. Spring blossoms were everywhere, birds twittered in the trees and bees buzzed about the flowers. But now, as we listened to the crunchy grovel with our eyes shut, the suspense became intolerable. "You can open your eyes," announced father at last, as the car ground to a halt. "Wow, beautiful," said Matilda as we looked at the house for the first time. "Wow, scary," said I. The rambling mansion that stood before us seemed to tower into the sky. It was immense, it was old, and to me it seemed spooky. "There's nothing scary about it. You'll have a great time here," said father. "There's plenty to explore, and I haven't seen the whole of it myself." Father, mother, and Matilda went straight into the house, but I, a little less enthusiastic, followed in my own time. I caught up with the others in the spacious living room. "Your bedrooms are upstairs," announced mother excitedly, "and there's a large room at the side of the house on the ground floor which you can use as a playroom." She led the way along a dark corridor and we followed. The playroom was indeed large, but it seemed cold and damp. "We'll have it warmed up in no time, Tom," father assured me, noticing that I had shuddered. He went on to explain, "Because no one has lived here for some time, the heating has been turned off. There's plenty to discover and you will have fun finding out where all the rooms are." An hour later, when we had been through the house from top to bottom, up staircases and down others, and in and out of umpteen rooms, we returned to the playroom. Our large toy box had been placed against the far wall of the room, and Matilda went straight to it to unpack some toys. She took out what she needed and then, answering a call from mother upstairs, ran off to find out why she was being summoned. I stood in silence, alone in the large room. It was then that I heard, for the first time, a feeble cry followed by a long moan. It seemed to come from the box, but this was just not possible. Perhaps a cat has entered the room, I thought to myself, or it is my imagination. I pulled a couple of toys from the box, but when I heard the cry again, I screamed, dropped the toy truck I had seen holding, and fled. I found Matilda and mother upstairs in my bedroom, my suitcase and a couple of boxes containing clothes. More toys and books were lying on the floor beside the bed. Mother was unpacking a smaller case on the bed. I began to help her put away some of my clothes in a large cupboard that was standing against one wall. I paused by a window to look at the garden outside. It was bright and warm, and everything looked green and fresh. I wanted to be out there, not in this dark house with its cold, echoing rooms and strange sounds. "You are very quiet, Tom," said mother. "Is something the matter?" "I don't like it here," I muttered. "Why ever not?" asked mother, coming over to join me by the window. "It's cold and spooky," I replied, "and I don't like the noises it makes." "Noises?" asked mother, astonished. "What noises?" "I heard some noises, moaning, coming from our toy box," I replied. "Don't be silly," said mother. "Come, let's go down and listen. Don't be such a scaredy-cat. Matilda will come too, and I'll get Dad too if you insist." We went downstairs and entered the playroom. We stood and listened. We heard nothing. "The sounds you heard must have come from outside," said mother. "A gurgling pie, perhaps." "No," I said with some force as I backed out of the room. "It was a cry, a moan, I'm sure." Over the next few days we settled in. I should say the rest of the family settled in. I was far from settled. I heard the cries whenever I went into the playroom and approached the toy box, and each time I heard the cries I screamed. But when the others came running to listen, there were no sounds at all. By the end of the week, everyone was most annoyed with me. They came running to the room whenever I screamed. My parents did not believe me and assumed I was making up the story to get their attention. My sister blamed me for the moodiness of my parents and said that we might lose the use of the room for our entertainment if I kept this up. One morning, determined not to scream, I plucked up the courage to enter the playroom. I had avoided it for 3 days, but now my mind was made up. I would get to the bottom of the mystery and not scream. The curtains in the room were drawn, so it was dark and musty in there. As I entered the room, I felt a draught of air. The windows were firmly shut, so was the front door. Wondering where the draught was coming from, I drew open the curtains. Sunlight flooded into the room, but it still felt chilly. The light, however, had given me some courage. I approached the toy box quietly and cautiously. As I drew near, I felt the breeze again, and then I stopped in my tracks. A moan floated up from the box, but I held my breath and did not cry out. I backed silently out of the room and, once in the hall, hastened to find my mother. I found mother and Matilda baking a cake in the kitchen. "Hurry, come with me," I urged, "but don't say a word or make a sound." Looking puzzled, they followed me to the playroom. With my finger over my lips, I tiptoed across the floor towards the box. They followed closely and silently. As we approached the box, there was a cry, and then some mumbling. An adult voice saying something, a further cry, followed finally by my scream. which I had controlled till then, but now could hold back no longer. We stood there for a moment, breathing softly, listening intently, but heard nothing more. Father entered the room at a gallop. "What's going on here?" he asked abruptly. "What has happened?" He paused in mid-flow, noticing us standing in silence, Mother indicating with one finger to her lips for him to be quiet. We left the room and proceeded in an orderly fashion to the living room, where Mother explained what had happened. "Well, you wait here," said Father when he had heard the story. "I will investigate." Father marched out of the room purposefully. After a moment, we heard the box being dragged over the wooden floorboards in the playroom. After a while, Father joined us again. "Come with me," he said, going towards his golf bag in the hall. "I think it's high time we have a good look at the old storerooms and coal bunker at the side of the house. I found an air vent in the wall, hidden behind the try box. We will find out where it goes, and just in case, I am taking a golf club." Father selected a 3-iron and led the way, swinging it in the air. We crunched over the gravel, passed through a narrow gap in the thick hedge surrounding the side garden, and approached the part of the house adjacent to the playroom. There were hundreds of broken tiles, old door and window frames, a rusting bicycle, and other unwanted and broken pieces of furniture piled against the wall and scattered over that part of the garden. "We will have to get all this rubbish removed," said Father, picking his way through the debris. "All this must have been cleared out of the house when it was renovated. What a mess!" We could see 2 windows low down on the wall and some steps leading down to what looked like a cellar door. The path to the door was clear, so it was obvious that someone had used the doorway quite recently. Father clambered down the few steps to the door. Mother, Matilda, and I stood at the top, wondering what he would do. Father rapped on the door with his golf club and called out, "Hello, is anybody there?" There was no answer. He rattled the rusty doorknob and struck the door again with his club. Then he turned the knob and the door creaked open. The light from the open door and the windows on either side of it filtered into the room. There was some movement inside, and Father stood back with his club raised. We could hear a tearful woman's voice. "Please, sir, we do not mean any harm," sobbed the woman. "Who are you and what are you doing here?" demanded Father. "We have no here to live, sir," explained the woman. "We found this place by chance and moved in for shelter. We have been living here for some weeks now." "Who is with you?" asked Father. "My little child," cried the woman, turning to look towards a cot which stood against the wall behind her. "She is not well, sir, because of the damp. She cries a lot, and my husband Jack has gone to the village to fetch her some medicine." Well, the mystery of the morning try box has finally been solved, I thought to myself as we stood there looking sadly at the wretched woman. They will stop complaining about my vivid imagination now. Mother took charge of the situation immediately. 1 month later, the child was gurgling with laughter on the sunny lawn outside the house. The woman Frances was employed to help in the house. Her husband Jack was given the job of gardener and handyman. The coal bunker and storerooms were cleaned, damp-proofed and painted. The rubbish from the side of the house was removed and shrubs were planted. Everything worked out well for all of us. the spooky house became a warm and comforting home. Now come to the exercises. Answer the following questions. A. What sounds did the children hear after entering the grounds in their car? Answer. The children heard the birds twittering, bees buzzing, and the crunching of gravel under the car wheels after entering the grounds. B. How do we know that the children liked the week in their old house before they moved out? Answer. We know that the children liked the week in their old house before they moved out because it is described as a magical playground in which they had fun living with boxes everywhere. C. In what way was Matilda's first impression of the new house different from Tom's? Answer. Matilda's first impression of the new house was different from Tom's in that she described it as beautiful, went straight in, and started unpacking. Tom, on the other hand, says it looks scary. D. When and where did Tom first hear a cry? What was his reaction? Answer. Tom heard a cry on the first day when he was alone in the playroom. His reaction was to think it was a cat or his imagination. E. What did Tom see out of the window? How did this contrast with the inside? Answer. Tom saw the garden outside the window. Everything in it looked bright and warm and green and fresh. The house, in contrast, is described as dark and cold, with echoing rooms and strange sounds. F. What did Tom's mother tell Tom to encourage him to return to the playroom and check for any strange sounds there? Answer. Tom's mother told him not to be a scaredy-cat and said that the sounds must have come from outside. G. How did Tom's constant screaming affect his parents and Matilda? Answer. Tom's constant screaming made his parents come running to check on him. H. What did Tom's father take with him to investigate the coal bunker and why? Answer. Tom's father took a 3-iron golf club with him when he went to look in the coal bunker. He took it as a form of defense against the intruder the family had heard through the vent. I. Where did all the rubbish at the side of the house come from? Answer. The rubbish at the side of the house had been dumped there when the house was being renovated. These questions are more difficult. Discuss them first. Tom describes the house in his own way. What is his view about the house? Does this view change? When and why? Answer. Tom describes the house in his own way. His view of the house is that it is a cold, scary, rambling mansion that is towering and spooky, with echoing rooms. His view changed when the mystery of the morning toy box has been solved and the family have settled in. He says that the spooky house became a warm and comforting home. K. The woman, her husband and daughter were obviously taken care of in the end. What is your view about how and why they got there in the first place? Answer. They came here by chance and moved in for shelter. Choose the best answer. Tom did not like the house because it was cold, damp and spooky. Tom's parents were annoyed with Tom because they thought he had made up a story to get their attention. 3. Answer the following questions with reference to context. A. And just in case I am taking a golf club. Who said these words? Tom's father. Why does the speaker say just in case? In case of what? He takes it as a precaution. He is worried about who he might find in his coal bunker. What club does he take and what does he do with it? He takes a 3-iron and he swings it in the air as they walk along. B. Father entered the room at a gallop. 1. Why did father enter the room in this fashion? Answer. He is responding to his son's scream. 2. What did he find in the room at this time? Answer. He found Tom, Matilda and their mother, his wife. 3. What did he do in the room and immediately after this? Answer. He starts speaking in the room but stops when he sees his wife indicating with one finger on her lips for him to be quiet. They all go into the living room where Tom's mother explains what they have heard. Then Tom's father goes to the playroom to investigate. B. Working with words. Here are some nouns from the passage, but the letters are jumbled. What are they? A. Long. B. Twice. C. Blossoms. D. Rubbish. E. Playroom. F. Medicine. G. Staircase. H. Husband. Sentences. Tearfully. Please don't let her die. She begged tearfully. Spookily. Spookily 3 days earlier I had also fallen over while performing. Steadily. The country has been steadily industrializing. Cautiously. She saw nothing and stepped cautiously into the hallway. Purposefully. She strode purposefully up to the door and knocked loudly. 3. Give the full form and explain the following abbreviations. BA, Bachelor of Arts. DIR, Director. DR, Doctor. F, Degrees Fahrenheit. FRI, Friday. JN, January. MPH, miles per hour. MR, Mr. MRS, Mistress. NOV, November. NW, Northwest. KG, kilogram. MAR, March. Try to give your own explanations for the following proverbs. Also give an example of when the proverb might be used. A. All roads lead to Rome. There are many ways of achieving the same aim or the same results. B. Everything comes to him who waits. If a person tries hard enough and is patient, she will have success in the end. C. If at first you don't succeed, try again. A good result can be achieved with perseverance. D. It never rains but it pours. Misfortunes seldom come alone. E. Make hay while the sun shines. Make use of good opportunities when they present themselves. Find the verb and the object in the following sentences. The verbs are in bold. The objects have been underlined. A. Matilda scolded her brother. Scolded, verbs, her brother, object. B. The woman wanted the medicine. Wanted, verb, the medicine, object. C. The children's father found an air vent. Found, verb, and air vent, object. D. The father hit the door with his club. Hit, verb, the door, object. E. The mother put the clothes in the cupboard. Put, verb, the clothes, object. Fill in the blanks with suitable objects. A. Ahmed and Saqib watered the plants in the evening. B. The bees collected nectar from the flowers. C. In the book we found information. D. The lifeguard saved the child. E. What have you done? Thanks for listening. For new videos, don't forget to subscribe my channel. And if you like my videos, please share and like.